The US evacuation from Afghanistan is still fresh on everyone's minds. Those images of people hanging from planes, children being passed across fences, thousands scrambling to leave the country. It was a mission that clearly failed miserably. But a new Pentagon report has highlighted the nature of this failure, the magnitude. Nearly $7 billion worth of military equipment has been left behind in Afghanistan. This American military equipment has just been left behind to be used by the Taliban. They are in the hands of the same enemy that America tried to drive out for 2 decades. And the reason for this is the hasty nature of the withdrawal by the United States and the swift downfall of the Afghanistan government. Let's tell you more about this report. According to the Department of Defense, America gave a total of $18.6 billion of equipment to the Afghanistan army. This is between 2005 to 2021. Out of that, equipment worth over $7 billion remains in Afghanistan. This was meant to be a cutting-edge war chest, and today it is under the control of the Taliban. Just how much equipment are we talking about? 2,000 armored vehicles, 40 aircraft, including Black Hawk helicopters, Scan Eagle military drones, and possibly hundreds of infantry weapons. Aircraft worth $923 million still remaining in Afghanistan. Most of them were demilitarized and rendered inoperable, but a significant amount of military vehicles could still be used. The US, in fact, left behind over 12,000 Humvees in Afghanistan, and the report says that the current condition of the vehicles is not known. There are now concerns that these weapons could be used to kill civilians. They could be seized by other groups like the Islamic State or potentially be handed over to countries like China. At one point, the Biden administration even planned to launch strikes to destroy them, but the risks were too high. It could have antagonized the Taliban at a point where evacuations were priority number 1. Experts say that the aircraft would require frequent maintenance. Many of them are too complicated to fly without extensive training. But there are wide-ranging concerns about the easier-to-use weapons and equipment. The report also says America has no plans to return to Afghanistan to retrieve or destroy the equipment. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.
August the 31st, 2021, the day the final US military plane left Kabul airport, bringing to an end 20 years of American presence in Afghanistan. The US left behind stacks of military equipment from aircraft to guns, adding to the haul of weaponry the Taliban had been gathering in recent months, taken from the Afghan army as it retreated. So, what kind of equipment do they have now, and how dangerous could it be? Taliban members entered the former US military section of the airport just hours after the withdrawal. These fighters, members of the elite Badri 313 unit, can be seen inspecting CH-46 Sea Knight helicopters. This is one of 3 hangars in the military zone of the airport. A video filmed later on the north side shows an MD-530 helicopter. It's one of 43 kept in Afghanistan by the Afghan Air Force. Next to it, a light plane supplied to the Afghan Air Force by the Americans. The US Department for Defense has spent nearly $1.8 billion on building, training and equipping the Afghan Air Force since 2019. The figure spent across 20 years is far greater. But while images of Taliban fighters surrounded by sophisticated planes and helicopters is a concern, the reality could be quite different. The head of US Central Command has said that all 73 aircraft at Kabul airport were made unusable by the Americans. Analysis of satellite images from neighbouring Uzbekistan found that at least 45 aircraft had been moved to an airfield there. 21 light attack aircraft and tens of helicopters, including Black Hawks, can be seen on the tarmac in Uzbekistan. However, the Taliban are in possession of some aircraft that are still usable. This video shows Taliban fighters flying a Soviet-era Mi-17 helicopter near Herat. At least one UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter was seen being flown by the Taliban in Kandahar province. The Afghan Air Force had 33 of these iconic American choppers in Afghanistan at the end of June.
What really alarms me, I think, and what alarms a lot of Afghans now, is the potential that you have a Black Hawk helicopter being brought to bear on a village, potentially, say, of Hazaras, a community that they targeted in the 1990s in acts of violence that the Hazaras regard as genocide. So that balance, I think, their capacity to rule Afghanistan more completely in a more brutal way, actually is a major concern.
And it's not just aircraft. Countless videos of the Taliban seizing huge caches of weapons have circulated in recent months as they swept across Afghanistan.
With the AK-47, the Taliban managed to defeat the world's most powerful military alliance in the United States and NATO. And they did that largely with, small arms.
Sky's Alex Crawford met members of the Taliban.
Whoa.
She was shown a haul of 900 guns and dozens of vehicles from a deserted Afghan army base in Wardak province. Thousands of US Humvees are also thought to have been seized by the group, but just like the aircraft, some have been taken across the border and out of the Taliban's hands. This video shows a convoy of Afghan forces in American Humvees heading into Iran. This military hardware will bolster the Taliban's capabilities, but they've also been left equally dangerous information. Handheld devices used by the US Army to collect biometric data on Afghans working with them are also said to have fallen into Taliban hands. This information could be used to track those down who have worked with Western forces. The Pentagon says it does not know how much equipment could now be in the Taliban's hands. And as more and more footage of Taliban fighters operating old US and Afghan military kit continues to emerge, the true cost of leaving these things behind is yet to be seen.
They will use those weapons, not in a way that suggests they're reformed, but in fact they will go back to really their instincts, which are to rule with an iron fist.